Okay, so basically what I want to talk about is Asperger's syndrome and being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Asperger's syndrome is a developmental disorder which affects the way someone makes sense of the world, also how they process information and how they relate to other people. Asperger's syndrome is a lifelong condition. There's no cure or medication, though there are medication for symptoms of Asperger's syndrome like anxiety and depression, and there are interventions and methods of enabling learning and development. There is no cure for Asperger's. Asperger's is mostly a hidden disability, which means that you cannot tell if somebody has Asperger's just by looking at them. There are three main areas of difficulty for people with Asperger's, and they are social communication, social interaction, and social imagination. So people with Asperger's can have real difficulty with social signals, which are facial expressions and body gestures and things like that. I actually found out about Asperger's by finding an Asperger's test online, then Googling what Asperger's was. I personally was diagnosed with Asperger's now about a month ago. I'd heard of Asperger's before, but I didn't particularly know what it was. I didn't know the details. So I read about what Asperger's syndrome was and obviously noticed that I have pretty similar characteristics. So I took the test, and the test basically said that I definitely have Asperger's and I should book an appointment with my GP. So I booked an appointment with my GP, and pretty much straight away she was like, yeah, I agree with you. And she referred me to the people who diagnose people with Asperger's. Once I got my Asperger's diagnosis appointment letters, I'd done 3 2-hour sessions once a week where I talked about pretty much my whole life and everything in it, from infancy to present day. Once I'd done those 3 sessions, I came out with a pretty good idea that I had Asperger's. I mean, nothing was set. I didn't want to go around saying that I had Asperger's or anything, but I had a pretty good idea. And then it was only a month later, that in the new year in January, that I got my diagnosis letter to say that I definitely had Asperger's. It had a whole summary of everything that we went through in all 3 sessions. Growing up with Asperger's and not knowing it is pretty difficult. You know, school was especially hard, the social side and the learning side. And of course I was treated like everybody else in the way of learning and my developments, and those struggles that I did have were kind of just bypassed. From a very young age I have dealt with anxiety and depression and just all these things that I never knew why I was going through and why it was happening to me. When I finally got diagnosed with Asperger's, just everything from before finally made sense. There are signs to look out for, like understanding non-verbal communication, facial expressions and body gestures, and also difficulty understanding things like humour, teasing, irony. If you're somebody who thinks that you might have Asperger's, or you think that you know somebody who might have Asperger's, the best thing to do is probably to get straight in touch with your GP and have an appointment to them, see what they say. Recently I did have my post-diagnostic appointment, which I brought my whole family to, just so they could get a real good understanding of what Asperger's is and who I am. Sometimes, or most of the time, I can really struggle with saying what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling, so this was a good opportunity to show them and to be in the room and, you know, for someone to really explain it to them.